Picture this scenario. You're lying awake in bed at 11:30 p.m. on a random Tuesday, mindlessly scrolling through your phone because you can't sleep. You aren't looking for anything in particular, just letting the algorithm feed you content. Then, an ad pops up from one of your favorite clothing brands, or maybe a tech company you've bought from before. The screen is filled with bold, urgent colors, and huge letters scream across your display. Flash sale. 50% off everything. 24 hours only. Now let's pause and look at what is actually happening in your brain in this exact second. 5 minutes ago, you had absolutely zero intention of spending money. You didn't need a new jacket. You weren't thinking about upgrading your headphones. You were perfectly content with the possessions you currently own. But suddenly, your heart rate ticks up just a little bit. Your pupils dilate slightly. You click the link, and you see a jacket that usually costs $200. But tonight, right now, it is marked down to $100. Your brain immediately starts doing this fascinating, incredibly rapid, and slightly dangerous mathematical gymnastics. You tell yourself, I am literally losing money if I don't buy this right now. It is basically half price. I am saving $100. You feel a rush of excitement, a sense of urgency, and you hit Add to Cart. Sound familiar? We have all been there. Every single one of us has justified a purchase this way. But what if I told you that this exact thought process, the thrill of the deal, the identity of being a smart shopper, the belief that you are outsmarting the retail system, is the exact reason why millions of people who make six-figure salaries are completely and utterly broke? My name is Diana, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, evolutionary consumer psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build generational wealth while others are constantly trapped in an exhausting cycle of spending every single dime they make, all while believing they are being frugal. If you are someone who wants to understand the actual hidden mechanics behind wealth building instead of just hoping things will magically improve when you get your next raise, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it ends up helping you see your money and your psychology differently. Let's start by completely tearing down the single biggest, most pervasive lie the retail industry has ever sold you. A lie that you probably repeat to yourself on a weekly basis. The lie is this: when you buy a $200 item on sale for $100, you saved $100. Look, I need you to hear the brutal mathematical reality of this transaction. You did not save $100. You spent $100. Your net worth did not increase by $100. Your net worth just decreased by $100. You took liquid, investable cash, the most powerful wealth-building tool you possess, and you exchanged it for a depreciating asset that will probably end up in the back of your closet or the bottom of a drawer in 6 months, losing 80% of its value the second you took the tags off. But to understand why this trap is so incredibly effective, we have to look past the math and look deeply into human evolutionary behavior. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, our hunter-gatherer ancestors lived in environments of extreme scarcity. If they stumbled upon a berry bush full of ripe fruit, or a sudden rare source of calories, their brains were hardwired to consume and hoard as much of it as possible right then and there. There was no concept of saving for tomorrow, because tomorrow the resource might be eaten by an animal or destroyed by weather. Fast forward to today, and retail marketers and algorithm designers are essentially hacking that exact same ancient survival mechanism. When you see a limited time offer, a countdown timer ticking away milliseconds, or a red banner saying, "Only 2 left in stock," your brain's primitive scarcity alarm is triggered. You are no longer making a rational, frontal lobe financial calculation about your monthly budget. You are responding to a primal, deeply ingrained biological urge to secure a rare resource before a rival takes it from you. The anxiety you feel when the timer hits 1 minute isn't about a jacket. It is an evolutionary survival reflex being weaponized against your bank account. Here is where the entire retail system gets really interesting and, frankly, deeply manipulative. The entire concept of a sale is, in the vast majority of cases, a complete fabrication designed to manipulate your perception of value. Retailers rely heavily on a well-documented psychological concept called price anchoring. When a company wants to sell you a pair of shoes for $100, they know that simply putting a $100 price tag on them is risky. If they did that, your brain would have to evaluate the shoes on their own merit. You would look at them and think, is this specific combination of rubber, leather, and fabric really worth $100 of the life energy I traded at my job this week? And a lot of times, your rational brain would say no. So instead, they anchor your brain to a much, much higher number. They tell you the manufacturer's suggested retail price is $250, but cross it out with a bold red line. Now, your brain is completely hijacked. You are no longer evaluating the shoe's actual utility or true value. Your brain is solely evaluating the $150 gap between the anchor price and the sale price. You are no longer buying shoes. You are buying the feeling of winning. You are buying the dopamine hit of beating the system. You feel like a financial genius who just negotiated a master deal. But the entire system was engineered from the ground up to let you think you are winning, while it quietly and consistently drains your wealth. The retailer always planned to sell it for $100, and you just fell for the oldest trick in the book. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, Diana, come on, that's an exaggeration. I actually wait for sales to buy things I genuinely need. I have a list. I track prices. That is just being financially responsible and protecting my downside. And listen, if you were already planning to buy a specific model of a refrigerator because your old one broke, and you wait 3 months for a Black Friday sale to buy that exact same refrigerator at a 20% discount, that is smart. That is actual savings. But let's be radically honest with ourselves for a second. That scenario represents maybe 5% of modern consumer behavior. The other 95% of what we buy on sale is what behavioral economists call induced consumption. You bought it strictly and exclusively because it was on sale. The discount didn't help you buy something you needed. The discount convinced you to desire something you never wanted in the first place. Let's dive into the most dangerous, insidious variant of this psychological trap: the phenomenon known as spaving, or spending to save. You know exactly what I am talking about because you have done it, and I have done it. You go to an online store to buy a pack of specialty coffee or a basic t-shirt that you actually need for $15. You add it to your cart, you go to checkout, and a little banner drops down at the top of the screen. You are only $35 away from free shipping. Suddenly, paying a $6 flat rate shipping fee feels like an absolute scam. It feels like a personal insult to your intelligence. Your ego gets involved. You think, I'm not going to let them charge me for shipping. That's throwing money away. So, what do? You spend the next 30 minutes mindlessly scrolling through pages of inventory, looking for things you absolutely do not need, just to hit that magical $50 threshold. You end up buying a $35 stainless steel water bottle, even though you currently have 4 perfectly good water bottles sitting in your kitchen cabinet. Let's do the cold, hard math on this savvy financial move, because it is wild when you lay it out. Your original goal, the actual value you wanted to extract from this transaction, was $15. If you had just paid the $6 shipping, you would have spent $21 and walked away with exactly what you needed. Instead, to save that $6, you spent $50. You increased your out-of-pocket expense by over 130%, and you purchased clutter that will eventually end up in a landfill just to avoid a tiny, transparent logistics fee. Retailers have spent billions of dollars on eye-tracking software, A/B testing, and behavioral data to figure out that the word free is the single most powerful trigger in the human language. It completely short-circuits our logical decision-making pathways. We will gladly spend $100 to get something free that is worth $10. It is irrational, but it happens millions of times a day. But we need to zoom out. We need to look at the macro effect this behavior has on the trajectory of your entire life, because this is the invisible threshold where the middle class stays trapped and the wealthy pull away. This isn't just about a $50 shopping cart or a random Tuesday night purchase. It is about what that money could have done, the velocity it could have achieved if it wasn't continually hijacked by psychological tricks. Let's look at a very conservative scenario. Let's say you fall for these sales traps just twice a month. You spend $100 here on a random Instagram flash sale, and maybe $50 there on a buy two, get one free deal at the grocery store for items that will expire before you eat them. That is $150 a month in induced consumption. Money spent on things you did not wake up that morning needing, wanting, or planning for. Over the course of a single year, that is $1,800 leaking out of your net worth. Now, let's apply the power of compound interest, the actual secret weapon of the wealthy. If you took that exact same $150 a month, recognized the psychological trigger, closed the browser tab, and instead automatically invested it into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, earning an historical average return of about 8% annually over a 30-year career, that money doesn't just sit there. It grows, it compounds, it generates its own gravity. That $150 a month becomes over $220,000. Think about the gravity of that number for a second. The true cost of those random sale items, those discounted jackets, those extra water bottles, and those clearance rack shoes sitting in your closet isn't the $1,800 a year you spent on them. The true, terrifying opportunity cost is $250,000 of your future wealth. You are quite literally trading a decade of early retirement, the freedom to quit a toxic job, or the ability to pay for your child's education, all for the temporary, fleeting thrill of applying a 30% discount code at checkout. Every time you buy something you don't need just because it's on sale, you are stealing choices from your future self. And there is another massive psychological shift that happens when you are constantly chasing sales. A hidden cost that almost nobody in the personal finance space talks about, and that is the catastrophic drain on your mental bandwidth. Human beings have a finite amount of decision-making energy every single day. When you operate your life obsessed with clipping digital coupons, hunting for the absolute best promo codes, driving across town to save 5 cents a gallon on gas, and timing your purchases perfectly to shave $14 off a retail price, you are fundamentally operating in a mindset of extreme scarcity. You are playing defense. Your brain is so hyper-consumed with micro-optimizing small, irrelevant expenses that you have zero cognitive energy left to focus on macro opportunities. The 3 hours you spent this week scouring the internet to save $20 on a pair of sneakers is time and focus you did not spend updating your resume, learning a high-income skill, negotiating a $5,000 raise at your job, or researching a profitable side hustle. Wealthy people understand a fundamental truth about social dynamics and time management. You do not get wealthy by saving 15% at the Target checkout line. You get wealthy by dramatically increasing your earning potential, building scalable income streams, and investing the difference into assets that appreciate. When you obsess over sales, you are signaling to your own brain that your time is practically worthless. When you shift your core identity from being a savvy deal hunter to being a strategic wealth builder, your entire relationship with money changes. You stop sweating the small stuff. You stop caring about the 10% off welcome emails. You start focusing relentlessly on the big levers that actually move the needle of your net worth. You realize that optimizing your income and your investment strategy is 1,000 times more profitable than optimizing your retail spending. We also have to touch on the social dynamics of the sale trap. Why are we so eager to brag about the deals we find? "Oh, I love your shirt." "Thanks, I got it on sale for $20. We use the ability to find a discount as a badge of honor, a way to signal our resourcefulness and financial virtue to our peer group. It is a way of saying, "I am smart, I am a survivor, I know how to navigate the system." But this social signaling is a trap because it normalizes the constant acquisition of more stuff. It creates an echo chamber where your friend group validates your spending as long as you can prove you didn't pay full price. The truest flex of financial intelligence isn't telling your friends how much you saved on a luxury item. The true flex is having the profound, quiet confidence of knowing you didn't buy the item at all because your money is busy buying you freedom in the stock market. So how do you actually break this cycle? Because I promise you, the marketing algorithms are getting infinitely smarter. They have machine learning models tracking your scroll speed, your mouse hovering patterns, and your purchase history. They know exactly what time of day your willpower is lowest, and they will target you precisely when you are most vulnerable. You cannot rely on willpower alone to fight a multi-billion-dollar artificial intelligence infrastructure. You need systematic rules. First, you have to implement a hard, non-negotiable 48-hour rule. When you see something on sale that you did not explicitly plan to buy before you saw the ad, you are allowed to put it in your cart. Go ahead. Experience that little micro hit of dopamine. But then, you must close the tab and walk away for exactly 48 hours. The biological rush of the deal, that artificial scarcity panic, has a very short half-life. It burns out quickly once the stimulus is removed. If you still genuinely want the item 2 days later, if you can articulate a logical use case for it, and it fits within your monthly budget, then go ahead and buy it. But I guarantee you, 90% of the time, that manufactured urgency will completely evaporate. You will wake up the next morning and realize you don't actually care about the item at all. You will look at your cart and think, why was I about to spend $80 on that? Second, you need to fundamentally change the currency you use to evaluate your purchases. Stop looking at the price tag in terms of abstract dollars. Dollars are just paper. They don't carry emotional weight. Start looking at the price tag in terms of hours of your actual life. If your take-home pay is $20 an hour after taxes and commuting costs, and you see a smartwatch on sale for $200, do not ask yourself if the watch is worth $200. Ask yourself, is this piece of plastic and silicone worth 10 hours of my life? Is it worth waking up to my alarm clock, dealing with my boss, enduring the commute, and giving away a massive chunk of my finite existence on this planet for an entire day and a half? When you forcefully convert money back into the raw, irreplaceable life energy it took to acquire it, sales lose their magic almost instantly. Suddenly, that 30% discount doesn't seem like enough compensation for the hours of your life you are trading away. Finally, and this might be the most actionable, immediate step you can take, the second this video ends, aggressively, ruthlessly unsubscribe. Every single marketing email in your inbox, every promotional text message from a brand, every push notification from a shopping app, these are not helpful updates. They are tiny, perfectly engineered psychological hooks designed to drag you back into the scarcity mindset. They are active, hostile attempts to manufacture desire where absolutely none existed. You need to protect your attention with the exact same ferocity that you protect your bank account, because in the modern, hyper-connected world, your attention dictates exactly where your money goes. If they cannot reach your eyeballs, they cannot trigger your evolutionary impulses, and they cannot touch your wallet. Look, finding a good deal feels great. There is absolutely nothing inherently wrong with paying less for a high-quality item that you were deliberately planning to buy anyway. Efficiency is good. But you have to wake up and recognize when the system is playing you. The ultimate goal of your financial life is not to accumulate the largest possible pile of discounted consumer goods. The goal is to accumulate actual, tangible freedom. The next time you are scrolling and you see a giant, flashing red 50% off sign, stop and remember what it really means. It is not a lucky opportunity for you to save money. It is a highly engineered, psychologically weaponized trap designed to separate you from your future wealth and keep you chained to your paycheck. Walk past it, close the app, keep your money invested, and let your net worth quietly compound and grow while everyone else around you is going broke trying to save a buck. Trust me, your future self will look back at that decision and thank you for it.